Hello, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope you guys are having a great week so far. I did not get a chance to put out an episode this weekend because your girl was at WrestleMania. So, you know what I'm saying. So I got to go to WrestleMania 40 in Philly. Go Birds, go The Rock. I want to shout out my boy, Zach Mary. A fellow vet actually gave me tickets to WrestleMania because he knew that I lived close to Philly. We're about 2 hours away up here. And it was a dream come true. I've wanted to go to WrestleMania. I've never actually been to a wrestling event, like a real one. So I've seen some things. I've been to backyard wrestling. I've seen midget wrestling. I've been to like underground wrestling things, but I've never been to an actual like ECW, WWE, WWF, wrestling match. So it was a dream come true. Guys, this was number 5 on my bucket list. Okay. It was number 5. So I finally got to check that off. There were so many Philly fans. It was at the Link, which is a Philly stadium. There's like 73,000 people there. It was absolutely wild, insane. All the old heads from when we were kids were there. John Cena, The Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker. I mean, guys, it was like a millennial dream. A millennial dream. It was so beautiful. So I have some upcoming events that I want to shout out quick before we get into all the excitement. I have a reading at Albright Memorial Library on April 10th at 5:30. This is an event that's going to include myself and other local authors, a lot of local female authors, which is really cool. We're going to be reading a snippet from our books and also talking about our books. I will have books for sale there as well. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm still trying to figure out what part of my book I want to read because like my book low-key depressing, right? So it's like maybe I'll try to read like a happy passage. I don't know. I'll figure out what I'm trying to read. There is a Mother's Day Women Are Power brunch, which I will be speaking at on the panel for, and that is May 11th at 11:30. I'm going to put all of these things in the show notes so that you guys would be able to see them. And also, some of these events require registration, like the Mother's Day Women Are Power brunch requires registration. And then something that I am so excited about is coming up. I have Birthing Joy, Reclaiming Our Right to Health and Safe Pregnancies. This is a event that is being put on by Black Scranton Project, the NAACP, and Geisinger Commonwealth School of Medicine. It is on April 16th at 7 p.m. It's going to be at the Geisinger School of Medicine, and I will be on a panel with other women talking about our birth stories and our birth experience, especially dealing with racism in the medical field and the fact that Black women are 5 times more likely to die during pregnancy, childbirth, or postpartum. So it's seriously a problem out here, and I'm really happy that I'm going to be able to speak about these things. You guys know me talking about the maternal Black death rate is something that I'm always screaming from the rooftops. At this event, the Birthing Joy, I will have a table, and I believe I have a couple mugs left that I'll be selling, and I also have my books for sale. I'll have some stickers and stuff. So definitely check out the show notes, and you guys can come register for that, and it's going to be such a great event. A lot of the events I do, I really try to record so that I can either put it out with the podcast or I will post it online with my social media. I spoke 2 weeks ago about the like Black women in when it comes to being treated by doctors and medical and things like that. And I was able to post it. I spoke before the Lackawanna County Interagency Council, and that is posted up on my social media. I have my own social media outside of Politics But Make It Fashion. So you guys could follow me at Amber__Viola on Instagram or Amber Viola on Facebook. And I did post that presentation that I did there as well. And I know I spoke at Keystone College last week about the Black maternal death rate, and they did record that on a Zoom, and they have that available for people if you want to be able to see my presentation on that as well. So now let's get into it. First thing I want to start with is the Palestinian death toll, because it's over 32,000, and half of that is kids. So for those of you guys out there, don't ever open your lips to me to say that you care about the kids if you are not talking about this and you think this is okay. Because this is not okay. This is wrong. It is absolutely point blank, full stop wrong. We are killing people. We are killing a whole population of people, which I don't know if y'all know that it's called genocide. And there's so many people who are still silent and so many people who are still supporting Israel, but yet want to talk about being pro-life and yet want to talk about loving Jesus and being a Christian. I feel like Jesus would not like the fact that 32,000 people were killed and half of them were kids. I don't think he would like the fact that people are getting bombed on his holy land. I don't know. That's just me. President Biden is still sending money and bombs. So there's that. The U.S. is the biggest supplier, providing an estimated 68% of all Israel's foreign sourced weapons. Germany provides about 30%. Others that are included in kind of like also sending them stuff is Britain, Italy, and Australia. So apparently Australia has come out and said, their foreign minister said that her country has not supplied weapons since the start of the Gaza conflict. But we are complicit as Americans. And I think that's why this election cycle is going to be very, very hard. Y'all know I was just arguing with people on Facebook about Joe Biden. And one thing I want to say, and I need y'all to really understand and hear this. In the other 2000 election, right, with Biden and Trump, most people were not excited about voting for President Biden. A lot of people chose that because they felt like that was the lesser of two evils, which I hate that statement so much. And they really felt like we would get into a worse situation than we're in by voting for President Trump. Now, y'all can debate whether that was right or wrong all you want, okay? Because right now, everybody's life is kind of miserable. Y'all can debate whether you think that was right and wrong or not. But one of the things right now is with Biden that's working against him is a lot of people do not want to support him because of his stance on Gaza. And it is going to impact this election cycle. This one specific thing will impact this election cycle more than anything else. More than him being old, more than Trump being old, more, I think so much more than that. It's going to be about the fact that the U.S. is still supporting Israel. Now, has Biden now called for like a ceasefire and different things? Yes. He has. And yes, Kamala Harris has. But at the same time, we cannot still give them weapons. And how ridiculous is it that we are giving them weapons on a Monday and then on a Friday sending the people that they blew up food? Because that's crazy to me. That doesn't make any sense at all. So I don't know if you guys had seen this story about Ruby Garcia. So Ruby Garcia was killed and her body was dumped along a highway in Grand Rapids. She was killed by a man named Brandon Ortiz Vitale, I think. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but he is an illegal immigrant. So President Trump was at a campaign rally and got up there and put this little girl's name in his mouth. And he was up there talking about how he spoke to the family. Now, Ruby Garcia's family is saying that they never spoke to President Trump and that he never called them and that he didn't talk to anyone in the family. And they really would like for him to not talk about her anymore. They said that it was so hurtful because, and this was such a good point, that I believe it was her mother or her sister that made it. The article I was reading, it didn't specify who was really talking, which was annoying. But one person in her family was saying how it's so hurtful that American citizens do heinous crimes every single day. And basically, like, nobody bats an eye to that. But because this man was an illegal immigrant and he killed somebody, that now that's the center and that's the focus. And she's like, we lost somebody in our family and we don't care who killed them, but they killed them, you know? And that was just really, really sad. And I don't know why you would lie about something like that. And that, okay. So this little side note, that is one of the things that really gets me about Trump is the fact that he lies about things that are so easy to be verified. The man was up there talking about he ran against Obama twice. That's not true, sir. We know that. And if you weren't sure, you could look it up. Like, he's up there talking about, oh, I called this girl's family and I talked to her family. And the family's like, you did not. You didn't talk to us. Maybe he thought they weren't going to see his speech at his campaign rally. And so he thought he could get away with saying whatever. But that's just really hurtful and unnecessary. There was a veteran who was killed in Gaza. His name is Jacob Flickninger. He went to the Gaza Strip 3 weeks ago to distribute food with the World Central Kitchen. Now, y'all know I had the episode I was talking about the World Central Kitchen, and I called them like the Universal Kitchen, I believe, in there. So I was calling them the wrong thing. He was 33 years old. He was a dual citizen of the U.S. and of Canada. So he was killed. He was one of 7 World Central Kitchen workers that was killed by an Israeli airstrike on the aid group's convoy. So Central Kitchen has pulled out of Gaza, and they said that they weren't going to be doing anything else in there for the time being. I don't know if they're going to come back. I will say that Europeans are very upset about this now. Some would say, why did it take Europeans being killed for you to care? But tisk tisk. People are very upset because these workers came in and they were there to help people and they got killed. Now you may think, Amber, maybe they just got killed by accident. Well, 6 aid workers and their Palestinian driver were in 3 cars that were clearly marked for World Central Kitchen. They were also marked on the top of the car, marked on the top so that it can be seen by drones and it can be seen by planes or anything overhead. The attack was targeted and it was a war crime because you're legally not supposed to kill aid workers. They're off limits. They're coming in to help everybody. That's a war crime. And you can pull up pictures of the convoy. Y'all, like, missile went right through the car. I mean, there's a hole in the roof of the car. You can see it. Like, they purposely were trying to hit this convoy. They suspended all their operation. They truly believe it was a targeted attack. It was definitely a war crime. And that just goes to show that they're indiscriminately were just killing people. Now, as of right now, they did pull out of Rafah. And southern Gaza. Now, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that because the first thing that I truly thought of when they said they were pulling all of their troops out of Rafah was the fact of, oh, they're just going to bomb it now because none of their people are going to be there. I hope I'm wrong. But that was where my mind went. They have been getting a lot of flack. Netanyahu, who is a war criminal, his own people are so pissed off. There were protests in Israel for them to stop this. They spoke to Israelis who were marching, and one young man that they spoke to, his grandfather is a hostage of Hamas and has been there for like 170 some days at this point. And do you know who he's blaming? He's blaming Israel, and he's blaming Netanyahu because what are they doing to actually get their people out? Blowing up hospitals, blowing up aid convoys. That's not getting the hostages back. That's not helping. They're purposely trying to wipe people off the face of the map. And you have Israelis who are living in Israel saying, you got to stop. And something this young man said that just really crushed me. He said, we are not forced to live together. We're destined to live together. This is our land. We're all here. He was like, Palestinians need to be able to live their life just like Israelis can live their life. Mic drop, boom. Like, yes. Okay? So there was, you guys remember a while ago about the train derailment that was in Palestine, Ohio. Okay? So the train had derailed and it was a mess. They did not really truly help the citizens of this area in Ohio who were affected at all. So first question is, this event was never declared a public health event. Why? I don't know. It should have been declared a public health event because it affected their water, their dirt, their air, everything, their food. So Norfolk Southern, who is a train company, has agreed to pay $600 million in a class action lawsuit settlement over the last year for the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. But some of the people who live nearby worry that that money is not enough, and that's not enough money to cover future issues. All right, so what's happening right now there is the fact that anytime it rains, people are getting sick because the rain is saturating the ground and it is causing a chemical smell to then come up from the ground once again. Anytime it rains, people are still suffering from headaches. People are still suffering from nosebleeds. People are still suffering from rashes. People are legitimately sick and have gotten sick. Who is paying these people's medical bills? Nobody. They're having to foot the bill for all of this stuff themselves. So what about the people that don't actually have health insurance? You might be thinking, I would have left, because that's the first thing that I thought. As soon as this happened, I'm like, nah, because I would have had to go stay with a cousin somewhere. Not everybody has that. Not everybody has family that they can go to and go live with because of where they're living now is contaminated. Not everybody has the money to be able to relocate. So you have a bunch of people who are lower middle class, low income people who are still living in this area, and now they're going to suffer and now they're going to struggle because the whole area is contaminated and polluted and they're not doing anything about it. When you think about these things in a class action lawsuit, $600 million sounds like a lot of money. But if you have a child who was 10 years old when this happened, and let's say they live until they're in their 60s, that's a lifetime of medical bills that they're going to need to pay. And it's just not enough money. And they need to declare it a public health event so that they can have the federal government also come in there and help people. And they really need to do things, and they're just not doing it. And I truly feel bad for the people who are still living there, because this is going to affect them. All of those chemicals as well will affect children in a cognitive way if they're growing up in that area. If you're growing up with contaminated soil that's full of different chemicals, contaminated air, anytime it rains, it gets worse. That's going to create cognitive issues, just like when you're dealing with kids with lead poisoning. And it's really, really sad. So, as some of us may have felt, I definitely felt it. We had an earthquake, guys. Okay, we had an earthquake, then a comet. Y'all know people thought the rapture was coming. Sad to say, it did not come. But the earthquake was a 4.8 epicenter, and it was in New Jersey. But since the earthquake happened, New Jersey has been hit by more than 45 aftershocks, which is wild. The aftershocks had been centered near the epicenter of the Friday, like 2 Fridays ago, earthquake at White House Station in Hunter Drum County. Geologists are saying that even more could be expected to come in the coming days. Part of the reason why an earthquake on the East Coast is such a big deal, even just a small one, is that we do not have the same earthquake guidelines in construction that places like California have. I believe that even some of the buildings, you did not need to have earthquake like safety things in your building until like the 90s, right? So for places like New York. So what that means is buildings built before the 90s did not have any earthquake safety protocols built in. And the ones after the 90s did, but they're not on the same level as some place like California that has earthquakes all the time. So it is so easy for a 4.8 earthquake to actually do a lot of damage to buildings. So that's why a lot of the airports were closed, because they had to evacuate the towers to make sure that they were structurally sound. A lot of schools were closed, train stations, all of those things, because they had to be inspected to make sure that they were structurally sound. Because a 4.8 earthquake can topple and crack a foundation in a building because it's not like regulated to withstand earthquakes. So I had heard some people wondering why they were going around inspecting things for such a small earthquake, and that's the reason why. You have to protect people and make sure that they're safe. I believe one of the last earthquakes that was in New York did destroy a lot of buildings, and it wasn't that big, and that's the reason why, is because stuff just started cracking because they don't have the same regulations. So something I saw that was just terrible, and when I first looked at it, I didn't even want to open the article, y'all. Does your kids eat Lunchables? Do your kids like Lunchables? Mine likes Lunchables. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to act like Lunchables are the healthiest thing in the entire world, because we already know they're not. I assumed the biggest problem with Lunchables were the sodium levels. Okay, well, I was kind of right about the sodium levels, but y'all, I was way off of how much I was thinking was in them. But we got a new problem. There's lead in there. So Lunchables have concerning levels of lead and sodium, according to a consumer report. Y'all, this is gonna... All right, so there are limits. There are limits to how much lead we as Americans are allowed to have in our food. Yes, they allow lead, but there are numbers. It got to be below a certain point. None of their kits are exposed to exceed the legal or regulatory limits, but 5 of the 12 tested products, which were Lunchables, would expose someone to 50% or more of California's maximum allowable amount of lead. Or cadmium, which is heavy metals that can cause developmental and other issues in kids. 50%. A 3.2 ounce turkey Lunchable A 3.2 ounce turkey and cheddar cracker Stackers Lunchable held 74% of California's levels allowable for lead and 49% of the daily recommended sodium for 4 to 8 year olds. Other products tested were found to contain lesser amounts of lead and sodium, but still at alarming levels. The kit provides only about 15% of the 1,600 daily calories that a typical child would need. But the child is getting more than half their daily amount of lead from so few calories. I don't want any amount of lead daily. Who wants that? Why is this a thing? Why is it even legal to have lead in things? Now, I do understand that when you have a factory and you are mass producing things on a large scale, that there is a margin of error for things to happen. I don't know, Lord, I don't know if y'all know this. There's an amount of human that the government allows in food, in meat. There's an amount of rat poop that the government allows in food. There is an allowance of hair, a minimum that and a maximum that is allowed in food. The people one, that really got to me. But I don't want any of that in there. And so with those things, yes, I get it. Stuff happens if you're working through a big manufacturing plant. But this much lead? Come on. That's ridiculous. And I think the human thing, they just need to, if it has human in it, I don't want to eat it. I didn't know that would be controversial, guys, but apparently it is controversial. Many of the Lunchables, allegedly, are a good source of protein, offering nutrients through meat and cheese. This is what the Lunchable people are saying, okay? We've taken great steps to improve the nutrition profile of Lunchables. I will disagree. Because according to science, processed food arbitrarily needs to be classified as ultra processed. And that makes it less nutrients dense than other foods. So what happens with ultra processed foods is they actually take out nutrients in the process of processing it, okay? In the process of processing the food, nutrients is sucked out of that food when it's ultra processed. So then what the company has to do is they have to then add in nutrients. So when you see like juice that says added calcium or added nutrition, they added that on the back end because through the processing process, it was all taken out. I know. It's terrible. Everything is terrible. So that is horrible when it comes down to our food. And I will be right back and we will take a quick break. Welcome back, everybody. So I want to talk about Boeing again. So we know that the last Boeing whistleblower was allegedly unalived himself in his car. Wink, wink. But Boeing has been hit again because there is a new whistleblower who is out here raising safety concerns. And I really hope this man stays safe and he's being protected because we know what happened to the other one. So an engineer named Sam accused Boeing of taking shortcuts in the construction of its 787 and 777 jets. He claims that he was threatened with termination after he raised concerns. Boeing has been facing new pressure after now 2 whistleblowers have reported safety concerns over its manufacturing and that it is not following U.S. regulations. The issues raised have been subject to rigorous engineering examinations, according to them. They should have been doing that before. So basically, the shares in Boeing have been tanking because the FAA said that it has to investigate the claims. Now, I don't know if you guys are online, if you have social media or watching TikTok, but like a couple days ago, there were videos of another Boeing plane, engine pieces just like flying off the plane, just flying off. And people are recording it from their seat, looking out their window, and part of the engine cover is literally flying off. When I went on the last trip I was on and I went to Texas, I was not on a Boeing. And do you know the sacrifice that I had to make to not be on a Boeing? I had to fly Spirit Airlines. But Spirit uses Airbus. They do not use Boeing, and I felt a lot safer. So the company are coming under intense scrutiny again after its chief executive, David Calhoun, announced last month that he was going to be stepping down at the end of the year. So the attorneys for the whistleblowers said Boeing had made decisions on its aircraft assemblies which places stress on joints that are linked to parts of the jet that need more security. And this issue about joint stress on the planes is affecting more than 1,000 planes. So the previous whistleblower, may he rest in peace, he alleged that the method that they were trying to do with the planes to skirt safety regulations was to help make the planes last longer. These problems are a direct result of Boeing's decisions in recent years to prioritize profits over safety. And regulators in the FAA have become too differential in the industry to actually help make decisions. So the whistleblower was threatened with termination, excluded from important meetings, project, excluded from termination, denied reasonable requests for medical leave. The man got sick or something, and they wouldn't even let him take leave. They threatened to fire him. He was assigned work outside of his expertise, specifically to make him fail so that they could fire him. He was effectively declared persona non grata to his colleagues. Like, don't go after him, he has cooties. So eventually, throughout this, Boeing did kind of slow production down and stop deliveries, but the FAA has increased its oversight of Boeing, and I really hope that they do something. They started increasing their oversight in January when a door plug blew out on a plane. And they're trying to get other people in the industry to come forward and to share information. But people aren't going to feel safe sharing information and coming forward if, number one, people are dying. And number two, people are going to lose their job. People need their jobs to work, and not just their job to work. In America, you need your job so that you have insurance. So it's not just about being able to quit or leave or be willing to be fired, because I think that a lot of people would be willing to take a stand and to leave their job over some mess. But the fact that insurance is tied to our jobs almost makes that impossible. And I'll say that it's probably done on purpose, because say this whistleblower or the previous one wanted to leave and they have kids. Their kids' insurance is through them and their insurance is through their job. They have a family, a wife, same thing with the insurance. You're not able just to leave. And that is something that is held over all of our heads as employees in America. And they know that. And I really hope that more people come out as whistleblowers, because I think there's definitely strength in numbers. And I believe that people would be more safe the more people that came out. They can't kill us all. They can't kill us all. So thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Politics But Make It Fashion. Please make sure that you go like and subscribe to us wherever you are listening to this podcast right now. Go hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you guys leave us a review. Reviews and subscribe help the podcast. It helps the podcast make more money. It helps the algorithm. It helps the podcast be more visible. Like us on Facebook at Politics But Make It Fashion. Follow our TikTok at Politics But Make It Fashion. And we have an Instagram at Politics But Make It Fashion 1. Chat soon. 72 Hours of Hell, My Time in a VA is a short story about my time in the Veterans Affairs Hospital on a voluntary 72-hour hole. I was falling down a rabbit hole and I could no longer see the light or a way out. I reached out to my VA therapist to discuss my crippling depression and anxiety. This journey through involuntary hold was marked by humiliation, broken promises, and a profound sense of vulnerability. My path towards seeking help was extremely challenging. Despite the setbacks faced, I hope my journey will lead other veterans and anyone else facing mental health issues to the care and the support that they might desperately need. 72 Hours of Hell, My Time in a VA is available on Amazon in paperback and on Amazon Kindle.